Russian combat vehicles and troops stormed Ukrainian front lines in coordinated assault. Russian combat vehicles launched an aggressive push toward Ukrainian defensive positions. As they advanced, the armored vehicles opened fire, delivering continuous bursts toward Ukrainian forces entrenched ahead. Behind the moving armor, Russian ground troops followed closely, using the vehicles for cover. As they advanced, the infantry unleashed a barrage of suppressive fire, targeting the Ukrainian defensive line without pause. The coordinated movement between the vehicles and infantry created a dynamic and intense battlefield scenario, forcing Ukrainian troops to respond under heavy pressure. Drone footage and onboard vehicle cameras captured the Russian forces steadily closing the distance to the Ukrainian front line. The coordinated assault appeared methodical and aggressive, with Russian soldiers gaining ground meter by meter under the protection of armored firepower. At this time, the exact number of Ukrainian casualties and the size of the advancing Russian force remain unknown. However, the intensity of the assault signals a renewed Russian effort to breach fortified Ukrainian positions through a mix of mechanized and infantry tactics. The landing destroys the enemy infantry and artillery, advancing towards Sumy on the Sumy direction. The paratroopers of the Ryazan 137th Airborne Regiment daily identify firing positions, UAV control points, and infantry of the armed forces of Ukraine in the Sumy region, and then destroy them, supporting the offensive of our assault groups. Fierce battles near Pokrovsk, Russian soldiers methodically destroy Ukrainian military equipment and personnel. The situation in the Pokrovsk direction remains tense, with the units of the Center Military Group continuing their successful offensive. Russian soldiers once again demonstrated their high efficiency in destroying enemy fortifications. The published footage shows the destruction of armored vehicles, robotic systems, firing positions, as well as the elimination of Ukrainian infantry and the disabling of enemy equipment. The armed forces of the Russian Federation continue the special military operation. The Sever group of forces improved the tactical situation. Manpower and hardware of one mechanized brigade, one air assault brigade, and one assault regiment of the armed forces of Ukraine have been hit close to Pisarevka, Alexievka, Unikovka, Andriivka, and Verokino, Sumy region. In Kharkov direction, Russian troops hit one AFU motorized infantry brigade and one territorial defense brigade close to Ogretsovo, Gadish, Melovoy, and Volchansk, Kharkov region. The AFU losses amounted to more than 175 troops, 1 tank, 3 armored fighting vehicles, 9 motor vehicles, 8 artillery guns, 1 Croatian-made RAK SA-12 MLRS launcher, and 1 Israeli-made Rada RPS-42 radar. 2 counter-battery warfare stations and 4 ammunition and material depots were neutralized. The Zapad Group's units improved the situation along the front line. Losses were inflicted on 3 mechanized brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine and 2 territorial defense brigades near Sredny, Shandrigalovo, Donetsk People's Republic, Kupiansk, Osinovo, Blagodotavka, Bogoslavka, and Petropavlovka, Kharkov region. The enemy losses amounted to more than 230 troops, 12 motor vehicles, 3 field artillery guns, and 1 Croatian-made RAK-SA-12 MLRS launcher. 5 electronic warfare stations and 3 ammunition depots of the enemy were eliminated. The U group's elements took more advantageous lines and positions. They hit manpower and military hardware of 2 mechanized brigades, 1 assault brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine and 2 territorial defense brigades near Konstantinovka, Klebenbyk, Ivanpoli, Pleshchievka, Serebryanka, Seversk, Zvanovka, Chasov Yar, Alexandro-Sholtino, and Cherbanovka, Donetsk People's Republic. The AFU losses amounted to up to 155 troops, 1 UK-made Spartan armored personnel carrier, 2 US-made HMMWV armored vehicles, and 1 US-made Max Pro armored vehicle. 3 Western-made artillery guns, 1 motor vehicle, 2 electronic warfare stations, and 4 ammunition and material depots were destroyed. With intensive operations, the Center Group's units liberated Novoukrainka, Donetsk People's Republic. Losses were inflicted on 3 mechanized brigades, 1 airborne brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine, 1 Marine brigade, and 2 National Guard brigades near Dmitrov, Krasnoarmysk, Chunishino, Artemovka, Moravka, Udagnoy, and Petrovskogo, Donetsk People's Republic. Ukrainian armed formations sustained losses of up to 425 troops, 3 armored fighting vehicles, 4 motor vehicles, and 5 field artillery guns. The Vostok Group's units continued to advance to the depths of the enemy's defense and liberated Timirovka, Zaporozhye region. Losses were inflicted on manpower and hardware of 1 mechanized brigade of the AFU, 2 territorial defense brigades, and 1 National Guard brigade near Sherivnoy, Zaporozhye region, Novopetrovskoy, Yanvarskoy, Malayevka, Dnipropetrovsk region, Alexandrograd, and Novokatskoy, Donetsk People's Republic. The AFU lost more than 200 troops, 1 armored fighting vehicle, and 14 motor vehicles. The Dnipro Group's units inflicted losses on 1 mechanized brigade and 1 coastal defense brigade of the AFU near Lukyanovskoy, Zaporozhye region, Antonovka, Sadavoy, Kherson region, and the city of Kherson. The enemy lost more than 70 troops, 2 motor vehicles, and 5 electronic warfare stations. 3 ammunition depots and 3 material ones were neutralized. Operational tactical aviation, attack drones, missile troops, and artillery of the Russian groups of forces inflicted damage on a military airfield, a UAV production workshop, a UAV training center, and temporary deployment areas of Ukrainian troops and foreign mercenaries in 142 areas. Air defense systems shot down 1 Neptune long-range guided missile and 236 fixed-wing unmanned aerial vehicles. In total, since the beginning of the special military operation, the enemy has lost 664 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 73,389 unmanned aerial vehicles, 624 anti-aircraft missile systems, 24,375 tanks and other armored fighting vehicles, 1,583 MLRS combat vehicles, 27,948 field artillery guns and mortars, 38,855 special military vehicles,